Deadly Tarantula Girl, coming to you from my home studio. And I'm here doing a live today with Andrew from DEA Exotics. And I'm not sure that we're public. I'm not seeing us pop up. Let's see. I need tech support. Coming, madam. I'm not seeing us. What's going on? I know we're public. Let's see. So are we live? Are we? It's loading. Okay, we are up. Perfect. Okay, so for those of you out watching, just sitting at, I'm staring like an idiot. When I did my live with, who was it? Frank Soma, I believe. We went for like 20 minutes and then somebody was like, it's such a private, not public. And so you kind of messed everything up. Wanted to make sure you guys were there. So Andrew is amazing. Let's see, we've got Chris Stogden on here, David W., Aaron Kraft, Old Troy City Reptiles. Woo, woo, love that guy. Sean from Old Troy City saying hey to both of us. Some people were saying that they were waiting. They can't wait. Gamer Badger's on. Thank you guys who are already logged on and watching. Couple of things. I didn't announce that I was going to be interviewing DEA because I had someone else scheduled. He had an unexpected funeral come up, and so I want to send my condolences to that guest. And thank Andrew so much. I was planning to schedule him. I had appeared on his podcast, a month ago? 2 months ago?
Yeah, April 7th, I think it was.
Okay. So I want to encourage everybody to check out the Andrew's podcast. And I also did want to throw out there that I've been visiting with Dav Kaufman. We're going to be doing a show very soon. And that he's getting ready to go to Winnipeg to go watch the garter snakes emerge. So make sure you tune in to Dav Kaufman's Reptile Adventures. And so, Andrew, tell us a little bit about what you're doing with animals and your podcast.
Well, with animals, it's mainly ball pythons right now, but I do have some colubrids like king snakes and things like that. Over the past 35 years, I've pretty much had everything you could think of. Everything. Awesome. My wife and I, we used to do Burmese and reticulated pythons, but then we moved and we got rid of that whole thing and basically started over again.
So where were you living before?
From Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, born and raised. So we had a building with all these berms and retics in it, and then we decided to move for our children. It was much better for our children here than it was there. And we started over. This is basically was always been a hobby for me. So, but now I'm started getting into some tarantulas and things like that. Ooh. Small little collection, nothing big. So
awesome.
That's pretty much the sum of it all. So
So Andrew's been very faithful to my channel, and that's how I kind of discovered his channel. When did you start YouTubing? And tell me a little bit about that.
I think our first video was in 2008. And that was because Brian Barczyk was Stand for the Balls video. And my son wanted to do a video for that because he was trying to win the ball pythons. He had to do a video for so that's when it all started, was 2008. And we did that video. If you go back, it's our very first video. It's kind of funny. My son now, he's like 23 and he was only like 14 at the time.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing to see the difference changes as they grow up.
It's really an interesting way to kind of document your family. Because my family's been in and out of the videos some. They don't like to be on camera a whole lot. But it is funny when you go back and watch that older videos because the kids grow up so fast. And so, yeah, that's really interesting. So speaking of family, how involved is your family with the animals, and do they like them?
Yeah, my son, he's always wanting me to take pictures and videos, and he takes them into the school for his class when he's in science class, so he gets a big kick out of it, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
actually enjoy it too. My daughter does the same thing when she gets a chance. The teacher, her science teacher, if we have eggs that are infertile, wants me to send them up so they can dissect them and check them all out and things like
Cool.
that. And my wife, she's the main reason. She's the backbone of the whole thing. So
Awesome.
she's sitting right back there. I don't know if you can see her. She's waving.
Yeah, we can see that little arm. So tell us about her and about your history together with animals.
Well, see, I used to run a pet store.
Oh.
Then I met her. She was scared to death of snakes. And when she came to my house and seen I had them, she kind of worked through it and got past it. Now she's a champion with them. So everything works great there. That was 23 years ago.
Awesome. So what is her favorite reptile?
What is your favorite reptile, hon?
Sarin red-tailed boa.
Oh, it's the Sarin red-tailed boa. She loves the Sarin red-tailed boas. Yes.
I'm getting more into boas.
What was that, hon?
That was the first snake you ever bought.
Yeah, that was the first snake I ever bought her. Was a Sarin red-tailed boa.
Aw, that's romantic. So that's her favorite.
Me too. Yep. And I named one Emily.
Oh yeah, she had one named Emily, and I don't remember what you had the other one named. I don't remember what I named. But that was a long time ago. So
funny. Yeah. So what all through the years have you reproduced?
We have done berms, retics, balls, lots of colubrids, lots and lots of colubrids, discus fish. I've done lots of discus fish, plecostomuses, things, you know. Some people say like discus fish are hard to breed and stuff like that. It's the only reason I did it, to see if I could do it, and did it, accomplished it. So did you learn any secrets, breeding tips to breeding discus? Well, discus are, you know, water change, very important with them. You got to do it I did 1/3 of a tank every day. And when it goes to, when a storm is coming through, like if you're getting a storm, if you do 1/3 of a tank and you use cold water in there, it makes them spawn. Interesting. So it's kind of like they respond to the barometric pressure change. Exactly. And then you kind of continue that induction of the storm with cold water. Yes. Because what the cold water does is it makes them, I guess it thinks it's raining. Makes it think that, you know, and then when the floods come in through the Amazon, they spawn because they spawn in all the trees, so that, you know, it's better protection, I guess, for the fry and stuff like that. And that's what they do. Interesting. Wow. Now I know. So, I like fish. I've never been super heavy into fish. I did used to manage a pet store, and I loved that there were fish everywhere, and I got to spend time with the fish every day. I've kept freshwater and marine fish and love them so much. But I don't know. I like reptiles and amphibians more, I guess. So also, do I. Yeah, aquariums take up so much room. Well, and they take up a lot of time. They do. They're a very high maintenance type of hobby to get into, but rewarding. You could sit and watch a fish tank all day. So. Oh, totally. What's your favorite marine or aquatic animal then? What species do you really dig? Discus fish, I would have to say, for sure, or like would be number one. And then let me think. Other than that, fragging, like the corals fragging. Oh yeah. That I find that fascinating. So Sean Bradley, obviously of Exotics by Nature, is primarily leaving reptiles and getting into now he's aquatics by nature. So have you been following all the stuff that he's been doing with his storefront? And a little bit, not too much. It's been, you know, I just been watching what I see here and there. Yeah, he's super into coral. That was my daughter being the she was just trying to be funny. Other than that, yeah, no, I heard that he was doing that, but I really haven't been following it a whole lot.
Well, he was ready to kind of move on, and I'm glad that he's able to kind of take his legacy from reptiles and sort of transition it into fish. So congratulations, Sean. I think you're awesome. I love you.
Yeah, I have to say the same thing. Congratulations to him for moving on, or to being able to advance, I guess, too.
Right. Yeah. To kind of transition to another area. He's still working with animals, but kind of in a different realm, I guess.
Yes.
And he has a little girl that's like about 8 years old, maybe now, maybe not even quite that old, and she's really interested, and so that's what's best for his family. Then I'm happy for him.
Yeah,
miss him in the ball python world for sure.
Yeah,
but
for sure. I like his attitude. I like how he presents himself, and he's just outspoken, and
he's very real.
That's the way it is. Yes, he's down to earth, just right there.
He is. He's a good man. I have a lot of respect for him. Yep. So tell us about your podcast.
Well, that was started right around 2008 also. I started that with fish. I had a lot of fish people wanted me to do it, so I started with fish, kind of moved it over to reptiles. So it's just I've been just picking brains of breeders just to see what they all get tips from them all, because what might work in one part of the country may not work in another, but you could put the two together and try to figure it out.
True. And you can take things that you learn from certain people and maybe tweak it or modify it, and that might be the magic bullet for you.
Yes. And I find what a person has to do is find what works best for them and just go with it.
Exactly.
Because what this person does might get better results than what anyone else does. So
right.
Everyone's house is different.
I totally agree. And there's one guy that's been watching my channel since I started it in, I'm not sure what year, maybe 2012 or something. And he kept asking me like, well, what are your secrets for this? What are your secrets for that? And I'm like, well, unlike other breeders, because that used to be a big deal, is to keep everything a secret. I don't keep secrets. I said, but also too, you just kind of have to live and learn. You have to learn through trial by error in a way. I wasn't withholding anything, but I told him what works for me here, for my animals, may or may not work for you. So you really just need to invest the time and the money and raise the animals up and breed them and just see what works, see what you can do. And he kept kind of always probing me for that, those tips so he could sort of get rich quick. And I would tell him, I will talk to you on the phone or message you and tell you everything that I know, or I'll make a video about it and send it to you, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So I think that that's interesting that, of course that's true for fish and for aquatic animals as well.
Well, like one thing I've noticed is back 35 years ago, when you first got in, nobody would tell you anything. They're like, you got to figure it out yourself.
Exactly.
You got to figure it out yourself. But like, I believe it was like people were having a hard time breed colubrids like 40 years ago, 35 years ago, I guess. And then like there was a guy had a collection of Alterna, I think it was, and he put them outside for the winter because every time they would catch one from the wild, they could breed it and it would have babies. So they put it outside in a shed and let it brumate. And when they brought it back in, that was the trigger to figure you had to brumate all the colubrids. So then it went from there.
Do you know who that was? Do you remember?
Somebody from Texas, I believe. I can't remember right off the top of my head what their name would have been. But I know it was all like the gray banded king snakes and stuff like that. And then like there was like pioneers like Bob Applegate and stuff who just really took it and took off with the colubrids and stuff like that.
Right.
So that's how that started. But they never kept secrets. But then there are other people, like when it comes to like the ball python people and stuff like that, and the big python breeders, they didn't want to tell nobody nothing. They were like, nope. And to this day, there are people out there. It's like, no, I'm not telling you nothing, or try to figure out what's in something. They just like, nope, not telling you.
Well, I can see from a business standpoint, somebody wanting to keep the corner of the market or keep a monopoly on a specific morph. But
I can understand that too.
here's the way I think of it. Ultimately, in my mind, my primary interest is the conservation of the species. And the reality is every exotic animal is in danger of extinction in time because we're not taking very good care of our environment and of our planet. And I don't see that as a species turning around so far that we're going to be able to preserve all the natural sanctuaries that the animals have. I mean, we've caused a mass extinction just by, you know, deforestation and urbanization and all that stuff that we do as humans. And of course, you know, like pollution and all that stuff. You know, the climate change that we've caused by destroying the ozone layer. It's all taking a toll. So I feel like we have a true responsibility to communicate and support and love each other in the hobby and ultimately for the well-being of the animals.
What we're going to end up doing in the long run is protect our animals into extinction. That's what's going to happen. There are animals out there that you can't even touch because they're protected.
Right,
now,
exactly.
And they're because they're so endangered. But I feel if they could put them in the hands of some of the hobbyists who are more successful than the zoos are breeding stuff, I think they could turn a lot of that around, but they don't. And I think that's going to be an issue later on. I mean, there's garter snakes here in the country that are only on like a couple acres that you can't touch. And if they put them in the hands of the people, I think we would be much more successful at breeding them than even nature is.
I totally
you just look at the ball pythons. I mean, they're produced by the millions.
Well, and don't get me wrong. I know people who do what I call raping the wild, where they just go out and they herp and they collect everything they can find, regardless of whether it's marketable, whether or not they're going to breed it, whether they just keep it, and if they can't sell it, it's going to die because it's filled with parasites and they're not going to get medical treatment. I don't believe in going and harvesting everything that you can find. So, for example, if I found a den of moderatum, like an area that was highly populated with Aphanopelma moderatum, which I love, I would take, if it looked like it was well populated, I would collect a few. I'm not going to take every single one that I can find. I'm not going to camp out there and take every single animal that, you know, I can collect within a few days. You know, to me, I feel like that's unethical. But I also too think if we continue collecting a small amount of species from the wild to keep our bloodlines diverse, and we are allowed to reproduce them and care for them in captivity, I think, too, that is a greater conservation effort than allowing them to stay in the wild where their natural habitat is potentially being destroyed or going to be destroyed. Also, there are some animals that it's, you know, there's a learning curve. It's going to take us a while to learn how to reproduce them. Yes. So if we don't have access to any wild caught specimens, and I do think it should be regulated. I don't think that there should be total anarchy. I do think that there should be environmental and animal protection laws. But I think by totally illegalizing collection of any of them, I agree that it's going to be to the detriment of the species.
Well, what's going to happen is, you know, like they're going to totally deforest places, right?
Right.
And then they're going to turn around one day and be like, you know what, we need to replant all this stuff.
Right.
And then the animals will be gone. So it'll be only in the private collectors that can repopulate these, you know, put them back out there. And I think that it's important that people, you know, they can go, they don't have to give them to everybody. Like you said, just pick a few good breeders and let them work with it just for conservation reasons. And because I think people, like I said, zoos look at it in like somewhat of a scientific way. And I think people in the hobby look at it like totally at a different level, and they figure out better ways of doing it than they do in like zoos and things like that.
Well, and realistically, I have nothing but love and respect for zoos. I know there are organizations that are becoming very anti-zoo, and I think that zoos do a lot for conservation, primarily because a huge population of people go and look at the animals and either gain or maintain an interest in the species, which otherwise they probably wouldn't even know about. You know, like the specific species of rhinos or giraffe that are endangered. All they knew before was that there were rhinoceros and there were giraffe. But if they learn about a specific species and they have a personal experience with that species, it tends to have a long-term effect on someone that in the future they're going to have an interest in the conservation. I totally believe in zoos. But I also know, too, that they collect very small colonies or pairs of animals, and that hobbyists, on the other hand, are much more free. I mean, we spend our days and nights with these animals. And, zoologists or curators in zoos, that's their job. They go in, they feed, they water, they make their rounds. They don't necessarily have a passion, and they're not necessarily working with huge numbers or observing the animals 24 hours a day. Now, that's not true of everyone, because I know of plenty of people who have come from zoos or work in zoos or who developing zoos who are, just as passionate as we are and do spend their days and nights with animals. But I also think that the private sector, the impact that they can make is phenomenal. And if any of you have not read Dave and Tracy's book, The Invisible Ark, what's it called? I think it's right here. I think it's called The Invisible Ark.
Yes.
I think it was published in the early 2000s, maybe 2012 or 2008. It's so good. I mean, it's just an argument for people in the private sector ultimately together. Every little boy that has a leopard gecko, every old lady that has a canary, and then, the crazy people that have a lot of animals, that all together we are the invisible ark, including exotic plants as well.
Yes,
and so
I agree.
Agree with you 1,000% there.
Excuse me. Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, so I've just gotten word from Chris from Snakes and the Fat Man that you need to move your camera down so we can see your whole face.
Is that better?
That is great. Yes, now we can at least see down your very handsome. Yes, and we could see your snazzy hat.
Thank you.
Oh, and there's somebody else too. Who's that?
My wife, Rebecca.
Oh, hi, Rebecca.
Hello. I go by Becky.
Becky.
I don't know why.
I always introduce you as Rebecca.
I don't know. Never go by it.
I know that.
Becky. I'll remember that. So everybody in the comment feed, say hello to Becky.
Everybody's saying hello.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I look like you did it in rhyme, but it's my day off.
There we go. You gotta chill on your day off. How's the weather there? I mean, my gosh, you guys are like in the tundra world.
Pretty close to the tundra world, but like today's not bad. It's supposed to be like almost 80 on Monday, which is kind of
today's chilly and damp.
And damp, but
I woke up at 6:30 this morning and it was pouring rain.
Pouring rain out, yeah. But other than that, yeah, not bad. It's we have a long winter. I know that when I order stuff and then to wait for it to get shipped to me drives me crazy.
I bet.
Because sometimes you got to wait all the way till June.
Oh my gosh. Oh, animals, of course.
Yes. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Well, I live in a rural area as well. Of course, it's in the desert. But we order a lot of things online because they're, we don't have access to the stores that a lot of people do in cities. So yeah. I was thinking you were talking about like feeding dishes and tubing and all kinds of stuff like that.
Well, I can't get that anywhere. I have to order all that stuff online.
Yes. There's a couple more people that have jumped on the comment feed. David W. Old Troy City Reptiles. Sean. He's saying that he loved Burn.
David Wayland. Yep.
Yep. Spider Thoughts and Venom and Glenn Jenkins and J-Dog Party.
J-Dog is cool.
Yeah. So, a couple people have been sending me money on the feeds. That's super awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, that I never expected that, but that's fantastic. Anybody who wants to send money, please do. The Mexican is on, Troublemaker's on. Yes, I love you guys. You're awesome. Yes, I love you guys. Ooh, old Troy sent me some money. The Mexican sent me some money. You guys are so sweet. You YouTube and you podcast. Tell me the
Yes.
pros and cons of both. I'm actually thinking of starting to podcast thanks to several people, including Chris Eaton from Snakes on the Fat Man. He's kind of walking us through how to transition. Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to quit doing video because I love doing video, but maybe also starting to do podcast.
The podcast is, I like the podcast because I could take calls from people. It's just like, I guess, people putting questions in, but YouTube reaches a lot of people, but I find that the podcast reaches a lot more people for some reason. I think people like listening more than watching. Sometimes they like to put their headphones on, go for a walk, and they can listen to it,
Right.
or even exercise or whatever they like to do.
Driving.
They can even, driving or working with their animals. They like to listen to it. They can put it on the speakers and listen to it. I that's what I like about it. One con of it is when I like mine, you can get a phone call from somebody and you don't know who it is, and they could say some pretty nasty things really fast, and you have to.
Have you ever had that happen?
Yeah, I did. I was doing an interview. I can't remember who I was interviewing, but somebody called in and they said some pretty raunchy stuff, not to me directly, but just to get it out there real quick.
Oh, wow.
So I was able to block them, and then I write the number down. I would never answer that number again. But now, as for YouTube, I think the downfall of YouTube is their little algorithm where they only promote it for so long or push you for so far, and your views. If you don't get views on one video, like let's say I put a vlog out every day, and my vlog today only gets 30 views, but my vlog tomorrow gets 120 views, right? They'll start pushing me, but the minute your vlogs go down to like another 30 views one day for some odd reason, they stop pushing your videos. So that's the only downfall I could see about it. But I enjoy the videos too. I don't know. I do like a nightly podcast and then a video on there, and then I was doing a daily vlog, but then I slowed down a little bit, and so still going to put them up every week, a few a week. But that's the only downfall of that is the algorithm. However, then when they make changes, they're always making changes. YouTube's constantly making changes.
It can be a little bit frustrating. And for those who are ultimately hoping to earn an income off of YouTube, you're kind of at the mercy of their algorithm. And it's very frustrating because until you reach a certain level, you really have no hope, first of all, now of even applying for a partnership. I was just watching a video from a smaller channel who he was teaching people how to make money off YouTube and start a partnership. That was Grizzly Exotics. He's a cool dude too. Check him out. And he was saying that you have to be at a certain status before you can even apply. And see, when I first applied for my partnership, that none of that was true. We applied for our partnership very early on. Now, I didn't ever receive any money for a while because you had to earn $100 before they would ever disperse your funds. And that took, I don't remember how long, but it was a while. And so then it was finally got $100, and then it was several months probably before I got another 100. And now, of course, we earn regularly, which I am so thankful for. And thank you to my fans for watching. You guys are amazing. But yeah, it's difficult. There's another, I would say like the biggest tarantula YouTuber, his name's John 3800. He was one of the original partners of YouTube. He started his channel. Gosh, he just told me. I did a live with him last weekend.
I like his channel.
2005-ish, maybe. And he was one of the original partners, and he was making a reasonable amount of money from YouTube. They changed their algorithm after PewDiePie pulled this crazy stunt, and he lost a lot of income, and it really discouraged him because he was faithful to the channel. He was creating quality content, which he had done all along, and suddenly he felt like he was really losing out. And so it kind of made him lose heart a little bit. And I understand that because, it is frustrating. And sadly, what is the most popular is the real like slapstick, like people falling off of stuff or pulling pranks. And, I mean, our channels are educational. So, I mean, I don't know. Some people might consider that content kind of like trash content, but in the world that we're living in, people that are online, that's a lot of what they're seeking. You know, my goal is to educate. So that brings me to my next question. What is the goal of your channel and what's the goal of your podcast?
Well, my goal of the podcast is to get out there so people can learn from it, of course. I guess mainly educational, because we discuss pretty much everything on there and people's opinions. As for the channel, also, I want to reach people that so they could see, so that they can learn from it also. But now, like you were saying, with the what happened with your buddy, with the I can't remember his name, John.
Yeah, John.
He now see, this is what gets me about YouTube. They punished him basically because of what PewDiePie did. Now, is that right? No.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't monetize my channel at all because I don't think
Oh, really?
Yes, no. I got over 1,000 subscribers. I won't monetize. I got 400 and some thousand hours of watch time or whatever it is, at your minutes or watch time or whatever it is. And I got enough time for that, but I won't do it because I feel people want to come on there to watch my channel. They don't need to watch commercials. I know for the little views I do get, I wouldn't get enough for it anyway. But you know, I think like Patreon's a good site for people to do videos on, to try to, if you're going to try to earn an income with this, you know, put special videos up there and stuff like that. I know like Olympus Reptiles does that, and he does very well with it, and so does like Brian Kusko and all them guys. They have a nice Patreon page, and I think that's, you know, I won't monetize my channel. If I were to do that, I would go over to Patreon.
So do you have a Patreon?
I do have one, but I just don't have it up. I got it all set up, and I think it's up a little bit, but I never push it or anything like that.
Okay.
So
if somebody likes your content and they want to go to your Patreon, what's the account for that?
DEA Exotics.
Okay.
Everything is DEA Exotics. My Instagram, the Patreon, the WeMe I got, or is it WeMe or MeWe or whatever it is? I got one.
Yeah, I just started one too.
Yeah, so I got that too. So,
are you on Instagram? You said you are?
Yes, DEA Exotics on there also.
Cool. David W was asking what the name of your channel was. He wants to check you out. So there we go. DEA Exotics. Or somebody was asking. Oh, the Mexican, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, Jack Frost was asking what your channel is. DEA Exotics. Where did DEA come from?
DEA. My 3 children, David, Emma, and Andrew.
Ah, that's nice.
So
cool. Yeah, the Mexican said he's going to go check you out.
Well, thank you. But yeah, that's where I am with YouTube, is for educational reasons.
So your purpose is kind of similar to mine, to educate. So how planned is your content? Do you kind of fly by the seat of your pants? Like whatever you feel like showing that night? What
I do is I take the camera, I use my phone, and I just film whatever comes up when I'm down there. So,
cool.
Yeah. That's what we do.
What would you, if somebody was thinking about starting a channel and or a podcast, would you encourage or discourage them, and why?
I would encourage them because just talking to people, you can learn a lot, and I think you would enjoy. I think most people would enjoy it. As for channel, that was for the podcast. As for channel, I think they would enjoy it too. If they have something they're passionate about, I say do it, because if you're passionate about it, you'll be successful with it.
I agree. And, you know, I mean, success comes in all forms. To me, whether I made any money or not, if I ever had somebody email me, or if I went somewhere and they said, oh my gosh, I emailed you one time and, you know, my tarantula was in a bad molt, or, you know, my rainbow boa wasn't doing well, and you know, you told me to boost humidity or whatever, and you saved my animal. To me, that is success.
Yes, I have to agree with you. So other than that, yeah, that's I would definitely say yes. Give it a shot. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're not going to like it after a while. That's, you know.
What would you say are the worst things that come with YouTube, creating YouTube content, publishing it?
the worst things are there are people out there that are jealous of you.
Mm.
They get jealous of your success. They get jealous of what you have, and they will start just like leaving bad comments and things like that. Just like, and it's always just like one or two people. I've only had like 2 or 3 people that have really given me a hard time. So I block them, but that's the only thing I can think of, you know.
Have you ever had any like obsessed women?
No.
Because I have that problem.
No.
Maybe they just know that you're married, and so that discourages any. Well, I guess not that many women watch reptile videos as men do. So maybe
but I'll tell you, over 35 years, I've noticed that women in the hobby have grown.
Yes.
But when I first started, it was very rare to hear of anybody in it, any women in it. It was mainly men. And then it has grown, and I'm glad to see that. I think it should be more and more because I think women take a different perspective on things, and they seem to be more successful at it than men do with certain things. I really do.
Yeah, I've definitely seen more ladies join the hobby, and it really aggravates me when people either think I'm an actress or I'm just like the host of the show, and I'm like, no, this is me. This is my real life. This is what I do every day. If you don't notice, my arms are scarred. I get bitten all the time. I mean, this is really what I do every day. Yeah, so, and I know there are other women out there on the front lines working with animals every day too. So, ladies, come on, we need to see you.
I think if there's a woman out there doing this, I think she should definitely start a YouTube channel. Definitely. Speaking of faces out there.
Yeah, there's a woman on the comment feed right now. I don't know her real name, but she goes by Gotta Love Carpet Pythons, and she's a really neat lady. She has a channel, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
I'm thinking of someone in particular, and
her name is Gay.
Gay. Okay, yeah. So I think she's been on Kusko's channel, and she is just a snake lover. She's a beautiful woman. Yes. She handles her animals well, and so yeah. Oh yes, she's saying that her name is Gay. Awesome. So she is. Thank you, Gay, for making your videos public, because I feel like as a woman sometimes it's harder, because I feel like women are judged on their appearance and their presentation much more harshly than men. And, of course, people comment and say that, they don't like what I'm wearing or the way I look or something like that, when, in my opinion, they probably would never say that to a man. Why? I don't know. Why people feel like they can criticize a woman's appearance and her body and her anything, what she's wearing versus what they would say to a man. I really don't know.
I don't either.
Yeah, I want to thank her for coming up. And
there is one other woman out there who's her YouTube channel is One Soft Kiss, and her name is Carla, and she's been keeping snakes for 57 years. So she's been doing it a very long time. She's got a lot of experience and knowledge. So you guys need to go check out her channel also.
Yes, awesome. Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, who can't learn from someone who's been in the hobby for 57 years? Yes. I don't like to reveal my age, but I'm not even that old yet. So obviously she has more experience than I do. That's incredible. Going Youpers saying all amazing ladies. Of course, Gotta Love Carpet Pythons is on here. Ron Brown saying hi DTG, how are you? David W saying I'm jealous of Earl Jones. Okay. All right.
Earl Jones is a great guy too. I like Earl Jones. He's very cool.
So yeah, a lot of cool people on the feed here. I like to ask people what their educational background is. Did you study reptiles or biology at all?
No, I have been, since I was a kid, as long as I can remember, I've been fascinated with reptiles, always. My mother used to always want to have turtles or frogs or snakes or something like that. I couldn't get a snake until I was older, though, because my parents had a little issue with snakes, but they got past it once I got older and was able to buy my own stuff. But because once I was able to get a job at the age of like 15, that's when I started buying snakes and stuff like that. But before that, I've always had a fascination with them, always. No, I'd never studied them or anything like that. It's just, what I've learned on my own.
Awesome. Well, I think that, honestly, I've had a lot of schooling, and sometimes just the life experience is, definitely more useful. Don't get me wrong. I'm a teacher, so I don't want to say that there's no value in academic learning, but I also think too that just by, obviously, I'm sure that you read about this stuff
all the time,
talk to people, and then your personal experiences are so valuable.
I know people that have done it, and they say you learn more with your hands-on experiences of your own than you do in books. The books tells you the basics, like this is what the temperatures need to be and all that, or however that goes. But they learn more by just personally dealing with the animals on their own. So
yeah, I totally agree. With that. What's up, Brutus? My dog is. Come here. No. Trying to come in and out of the frame. All right. I'd like to know if the animals that people are working with are their full-time profession, or do you work outside of the home as well?
Actually, I just work with the animals. My wife's got a pretty good job, so I stayed home with the kids when they were little.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I did there.
There are a couple of people on the commenting feed complimenting your hat, so that's kind of taking over. What about the gear that you use?
I just got basic stuff. I make my own incubators.
Cool.
As for hooks, I just got one. I just tap them so that they know I'm coming in there, and then I use my bare hands for everything else. That's pretty much it. I use chlorhexidine for cleaning. That's pretty much it.
What's your position on racks versus naturalistic enclosures? That's the big topic right now.
I know. My opinion is, not mentioning the person who put out the video.
Who shall remain nameless. Yes.
Yes. Okay. I just feel that racks are better for certain species. I can understand there are some species that need to have like monitor lizards and all that stuff.
Right.
They definitely need to have the visual contact with you, and they need to have room and things like that. But as for like your ball pythons, I can't see nothing better than a rack, because they like to be hidden. They like to be in a tight area. I had a problem. I had a neighbor who found out I had a bunch of snakes at one time, and they were all ball pythons, and they tried to argue the point that that's not the way they're supposed to be out in the wild. And I had to physically prove to them that out in the wild, if you go find a ball python, where are you going to find it? Not roaming around, really. They're going to be in a hole somewhere, or even like when you go out in the wood looking for snakes, any kind of thing in North America, king snakes or anything, you're going to find them under logs. Yeah, you're not going to find them roaming out too much. Once in a while, you might see one scatter somewhere. Most of the time, they're under something in a small spot because they feel safe and secure there. So, but I do understand both sides of it, trying to have that nice naturalistic look, and like, it's very nice looking and appealing. But when you get over 10 animals, like if you have 10 ball pythons, you get over that many, it's going to be hard to have them big cages for everything.
Right.
Because it can get out. Like, take your place, for instance. I've seen you got a lot of stuff in there. You couldn't put that all in cages. You'd have to have a rack system for most of it.
Right.
So that's just my opinion on it. And I also feel that the person that put the video out, I'm not saying they are or anything like that, but if you go back and watch all their videos, they were talking about manufacturing these things. And I think that there's might be another alternative to the whole motive of the whole thing.
Agenda.
Yeah, another agenda. So,
well, and so speaking of that man, I'm not trash talking him in any way.
I would never trash talk him because you know what? He's a pioneer. He's a great guy, and he will fight for the rights of anybody to keep animals. And I do believe that. And I'm not going to bash the gentleman or anything like that.
He's been kind to me in the time that we've spent together, which hasn't been much, and I have so much respect for him. And also too, so my thoughts on racks versus naturalistic enclosures is that for the animal, if their basic needs are being met, and if they're in an area where they feel safe and comfortable, that's their primary concern, which racks for most species do serve. As far as the people, like you said, if you've got 3 snakes, large and naturalistic enclosures may be ideal. If you're, like you said, a person with an actual collection, racks tend to be better for so many ways. You can supervise the animals more carefully. You can control the temperature uniformly to where if you have a rheostat on 26 tubs, that all those animals are getting heat. If an animal needs humidity, that you can put ReptiChip or cocoa fiber or whatever in those bottom tubs or whatever you need. That the ones on the top are going to be warmer.
Yes.
Obviously, it's more economical. Now, don't get me wrong. Racks are crazy expensive. And
yes.
Because, they serve an excellent purpose. But so like was mentioned in the video, you have to think about the best interest of the animals, the people, and then also the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Although I see the merit in naturalistic enclosures for the hobby, I think that overall rack systems are better for a number of reasons, and I'm going to make a whole video about that, so I won't go into the nitty-gritty. But I personally also believe that we should have the right to keep our animals and anything that is safe. I don't want our freedom to choose that taken away, as long as it's a safe choice for the animals.
And for the record, on that video, he did say that he was not putting the people that keep snakes in racks under the bus.
Yes.
So there will be a discussion about it.
Yes, I do agree with that. But here's what I look at too. Let's say he comes out and says, or not him in particular, but somebody comes out and says, these enclosures are the way to go. They're the only way to keep them. You're going to get so many people that just go with that. And then you're going to get so many people that say that, no, racks are better. Right. So what happens is that puts a divide in the community.
True.
And our community is very fragile. People may not realize it, but it's very fragile because they're trying to take us down. They always have been, and they probably always will, because people always think of a pet as a dog or a cat or a little bunny or something. People have a hard time wrapping their mind around a snake or a lizard or or a turtle or anything like that being a pet. So my thoughts on that is I feel that they shouldn't have a big conference about it or nothing like that. I think they should just do what they want to do and that be that. But to make a big thing about it, I think it will later on down the road come back to bite us, to cause us trouble.
I agree. I also think that a lot of keepers or people who are weighing in that are not keepers really anthropomorphize the animals. I mean, all these people that are dressing up their dogs and doing all this stuff. Don't get me wrong. I've done stuff like that before. I think it's funny. But animals are not the same as people. And let's say I get a lot of hate from the German community in the invert world, because they really, really criticize my tarantula enclosures. And I mean, the experts that I respect the most say, again, kind of the same thing. Tarantulas live in very small areas in the wild. They do not feel safe in a 20 long. They're not going to hardly ever come out of their burrow, because that is the scary wild where they're going to be killed. And so, it's just really crazy. A lot of people anthropomorphize and basically think that their snake wants a pretty house. No, the people want a pretty house. Don't get me wrong. I have an emerald tree boa right now with like a waterfall and all this stuff, and I love it. That animal's in my kitchen because I'm like, dang, that's nice. But does that snake care? No. He cares that he has the humidity. He cares that he has an appropriate perch and that he can eat, and then he has water, but he doesn't care what it looks like.
I'll tell you what's on an animal's mind all the time. And this is something I've learned over. One, is it, am I safe? Do I have to worry about getting eaten today by something? Even if they're your pet, they're thinking, is something going to eat me today?
Right.
Am I going to get food? And am I going to mate? That's it. That's all that's really on the animal's mind. I'm serious. And I people might think that's harsh to say that, but it is. I got tarantulas. I got tarantulas in little enclosures, but you can see in there, they may come out, but the minute they see me, they run down in their hole or they run under something.
Right.
They're not hanging out. Snakes, they'll be out. If I walk in and open up a tub, they slide in their hides. That's what they do.
There's a viewer right now on the comment feed, Matt Stanton, and this is what I was actually just about to say, and then you kind of brought this point up. Basically, if you have animals that are alive and reproducing, that's a very good sign that they are thriving. They are well. They feel safe. They feel secure. They're in good health. And so, like, for these people who are criticizing my invert collection, come on. I'm known for my reproduction, and I don't even film all my breeding and egg sac videos. I don't have time to do that, but my reproduction playlist is hundreds of videos long. And so if you're reproducing those,
I have to agree. Ball pythons, if you don't have everything right, they're not going to reproduce. So if they're not happy, if they think something's wrong, they'll reabsorb. So yes, it's if they're reproducing for you, you're doing something right. So the animal's definitely happy. So
there was a viewer that commented a little while back. I can't I don't see where it is, so I'm not sure who it was, but somebody was asking, they want to know what you think about the whole spider gene debate. And I
knew this was going to come. Okay. My thoughts are, okay, you got the spider gene. I have several spiders in my collection, and I only have one with a wobble. And the one with the wobble I got as an adult. So what had happened to it before I got it? I mean, you could take a normal ball python. If you heat it up too much, it will get a wobble.
During incubation, you mean?
Yeah, well, even after incubation, if you put them in a hot tub and soak them and it's too hot, that'll cause brain damage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, if I don't see anything wrong with it, because I've seen people breed ones that have a real bad wobble and the offspring don't have a wobble. So to me, it's a hit and miss thing, but it doesn't, if you want to have spiders, have the spider gene in your collection. I do not have a problem with it. I don't see anything wrong with it. The ones that were caught in the wild had a wobble, so they were doing fine out there also. So, I don't know. I don't see a problem with it.
So you don't think that they should be banned or euthanized or?
Because you know what, I'm going to tell you, if it's eating, like you said before, if it's eating and it's thriving, even if you don't reproduce it, but if it's eating and it's thriving, it's fine. What gives you the right to say that animal shouldn't exist because it's just got a slight wobble or something? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I seen the one kid do a video about it, and he's a young kid and teenager. There's no way he knows enough. But when he was bringing out his spider gene, he was throwing it on a table. See, it won't turn over. Well, you throw me on a table, I'm not going to turn over either. How hard he hit it on the table. It's just, I don't see a problem with it. If they can eat and be fine, if there's nothing wrong with it. And I'll tell you, if you ban the spider gene, there goes a whole list of these morphs that people want to get rid of. But then the people that want to do that don't think we should be breeding them anyway. They just
in general. Yeah, because there's a list of about, I don't know, let's say like 12 genes that are known to, number one, be lethal genes if you breed them to each other, or if you breed them with other morphs, or like the desert gene. I think it's the males that are sterile, or maybe it's the females.
It's the females. You can produce with a male's desert
That's
gene.
what
The
it is. Yeah.
females can't reproduce. They could
So,
die.
I mean, honestly, you start getting into all this eugenics stuff where, this gene has this problem. And, this is like I pointed out to a viewer. That's kind of like saying that light-skinned people are more prone to cancer. Okay, use caution. I
agree.
That doesn't mean that those people don't have an amazing quality of life. And there are lots of dog breeds that tend to have deafness, a premature heart failure, all kinds of things. Well, but yet, I don't see anyone saying we should ban these dogs, which I don't think dogs should be banned.
No. You're right. You get to like the English Mastiffs have an eye disease that they get, a hip disease that they can get. You get Dalmatians can be deaf. Boxers, the same thing, can be blind and deaf. It's just, there's a whole slew of things like that. And no, I think they've been fine. And I think that same thing with the hobby here. I don't know, balls to you. He was an excellent individual from Europe, from the United Kingdom over there. Got a great channel. Did a video because he said that they banned the spider gene in a show that they have, just a show.
Right. Yeah.
And then people went way overboard with it. And they're doing all should they be banned or banned? No, he didn't say they were banned. He said you just can't sell any combination of a spider gene at this show. Well, and that has nothing to do with us over here anyway. It's just right. People, and then they don't give up on it. They constantly bring it up. I think if the people just left it alone, it wouldn't even be brought up anymore after a while.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I think that there are people who will listen to snippets of stuff and misunderstand what you're saying. For example, Balls to You said that the spider gene was banned from that one show. And here you go, having people, spider ball pythons you shouldn't be reproduced. They're going to be banned, blah, blah, blah. They're terrible. No one should have them. Oh, look at the worst of the worst cases, and everyone jump on board. Yep. And that created a huge hype. Number one, there was the young kid. Number two, there was the woman who was very new to the hobby. I'm sorry, but I mean, when you're on a public platform, if you have any audience at all, I feel like we have a responsibility to speak with caution, because I'm sorry, but there are fools out there that are going to listen and take what you say out of context. That's why I always try to word things very carefully. And, like with the remark about the dogs, I love dogs. Do I think that there are too many dogs and that there shouldn't be so many people irresponsibly breeding dogs? Yes. Do I think people should still breed dogs to better the hobby? Yes. Do I think it should be illegal for people to breed dogs? No, I don't, because I do think that our rights are important. But I don't know.
I agree with you. I just, and these young people, I don't know how they got so many subscribers. The one person had like 300,000 subscribers, and they've only been keeping animals for a short little time, and I don't understand what goes on.
How his channel grew to the potential that it did is beyond me. Some of the reptile channels that are big, I can see they're awesome. They are awesome. Dave Kaufman's huge.
Dave Kaufman's awesome.
Huge. Yeah, they're amazing men doing amazing things, but that kid?
Yeah, that's what throws me for a loop. I don't understand it.
Maybe it's because kids are watching and he's a kid. I don't know.
I don't know. It could be. Could very well be. Very well be.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's a question for you.
Sure.
What I guess I kind of already asked you, but where do you think the woman's place is in the reptile world?
I think it should be right up there, because like I said, they look at men, seem to have a tendency to be thick-headed and be like, nope, this is the way it is, and that's it. Where women are very open-minded, and they definitely bring a different perspective into the whole thing, and I think they better make it better. I do.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with that. There was a viewer that wanted to know what your position is on Venomous. I'm trying to look back to see who that was. Let's see. It was a little while back. I'm not sure. What do you think what's your position on Venomous?
I think if you know what you're doing, and you know all the risks. And I think if you want to keep a venomous animal, you keep a venomous animal. Like I say, I don't care what my neighbor does. They can do whatever they want as long as it doesn't like affect me.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to keep venomous reptiles, you keep venomous reptiles. I don't care. I'm not going to come in and say, don't you keep that, but just know the risks. See, the problem with keeping venomous reptiles is you always get that one person out there who's a newbie at it and ends up getting in trouble, getting hurt in some way.
Right.
And then they don't just look at the venomous reptiles, they look at them all. And they're like, wait a minute, shouldn't keep this, shouldn't keep that, do this or do that, you know. And that's what ends up happening. But as for that, no, I don't see a problem with people keeping anything venomous.
Well, sadly, it reflects poorly on us all as exotic animal and reptile keepers because, you know, the truth is we are kind of on the fringes of mainstream society. We're not the same as dog and cat owners. We are unique. No. And I feel like, you know, there is some prejudice against us and against our animals. So, you know, that's kind of a mission of my channels to kind of like take that mysterious veil off of reptiles. They are not evil. They are not dangerous. They are not creepy. They are beautiful, fantastic, amazing, gentle animals that are entitled to love and respect and conservation, just like tigers and giant pandas and kitties and doggies and all that.
Well, here, Becky and I used to go up to the school and do a thing for the grade schoolers, and then we used to go to a nursing home and do a little presentation for the people at the nursing homes and stuff like that. Well, the newspaper found out, so they came out and did a little bit of an interview on us and showed a whole bunch of our animals and stuff. And some people, it was every day in the newspaper for 6 months. I kid you not. 6 months people were fighting, because I live in a small community, saying we shouldn't have these animals. They're dangerous. They're this. Every time somebody seen a garter snake go across their lawn, it was in the paper saying it was one of ours. We had to come over and catch it. Wow. I mean, it was crazy. Becky and I, so they were going to pass a law saying you couldn't have more than 4 pets in your house here. They tried it. They really tried it. Becky and I had to go down and fight. We had to get USARK involved and everything. And we won because what we convinced them is that the law was basically going to be for nuisance animals, like people having stray cats running through your yard, tearing up your trash, or somebody's dog going in your yard causing trouble. And my animals live in a little tub. They're just like fish. See, when I did it I compared it to fish. I said, if you're going to do 4 animals, then you can't have more than 4 fish, because they're like, well, that's an aquarium. They don't bother nobody. I said, my snakes are in a tub. We had to take pictures of our enclosures down to show them that these animals are in here. They're not outside going in somebody's yard or in somebody's house. And it was a fight. 6 months.
Wow.
Every day, 6 months.
That's pretty wild.
Yep. But that's how things can get out of control easy.
Oh, it can. And so congratulations on winning that battle, because, you know, I feel like when they have one victory in that area, it's a defeat for all of us as a community.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that people are starting to band together. Oh, I want to congratulate Kevin McCurley for helping to overturn all that baloney that was going on in New England.
Yes.
That, you know, thank you, Kevin. You're awesome. I love you so much. Yeah, that was fantastic. And I was so glad that he brought that to the public eye. Somebody in the comment feed is asking what you think about the Enchi gene.
The Enchi, I like it. I have it. I don't see no issues with it. I don't know what kind of a question that would be. I think it's nice. I don't know what they're asking. I have a few Enchi genes, a few Enchis in my collection, so it's not, you know, I think it's okay.
Okay. So I know that you were gracious enough to kind of jump in last minute and I didn't give you a month warning like I have everyone else.
That's fine. That's fine.
My host, you know, had an emergency, or my guest had an emergency. But so I'll ask you one more question and then we'll wrap up for the night. What's your bucket list animal? I mean, irrationality, you know, forget money, boundaries, time, whatever. What animal would you love to have more than anything?
A tuatara.
Oh, cool.
Simple. Simple.
I think that's what Justin Kobelka told me too.
I don't remember. I've seen the interview, but I've that's been on my list for 30 years.
They're very esoteric. What do you like about them?
They live really long, but they're cool. They're just cool. I think it's the not being able to get one. You know, that's the whole thing.
Yeah,
They're so super protected, you know. But
so, this is for David W. This is my Inchy pastel. And it has no problems whatsoever. It's super beautiful. And yeah, I like the Inchy gene. I'm totally pro Inchy, but I'm pro spider too.
So
a little more controversial.
Now, I have a question. What's your thoughts on like a substrate? What's your favorite substrate to use? Because I know I like this stuff I got from CMC Reptiles from Ed, which is the paper liners, but they're all natural paper liners. They're not like your like newspaper liners, or not like newspaper or anything like that.
You know,
they're very absorbent. Because what I've noticed, this is just when I noticed is putting them in on the paper. I think my animals seem to be happier, because I noticed when you put them in like the cocoa fiber and all, they kind of push that stuff aside, and they like to lay on the bottom anyway. And I've noticed they get none of that. They don't ingest any of that, because people say that they ingest that stuff in the wild, but I've never seen a snake eat a wet rat in the wild. It's always been
right.
So stuff sticks to it.
Live.
And the problem with newspaper is that newspaper, they use chemicals to dry the ink, even though it's a soy-based ink. The people that work around that get cancer and die also.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the all-natural paper that like Ed uses, there's no glues or nothing in it. I don't know how they do it, but it has nothing, and you can eat off of it. It's food grade paper, and yeah, that's my opinion. And I get better production out of the animals too, because all that other stuff has a smell to it, and this doesn't have a smell to it or anything. And I think when you put the snakes together, I think you get they could smell like the female puts off of like a pheromone or something, and I think they get a better response. My animals seem happier on it.
So I am pro paper for a number of reasons. I personally use newspaper because it's accessible, it's green, and it is I for most species. I'll specify that. For ball pythons, for instance, I feel like they're hardy enough that newspaper is not going to hurt them. I do not use the glossy paper because it doesn't absorb any moisture. Well, not as well. I know that it's probably the totally clean paper is more ideal. And in fact, I was contacted by those people and they asked to send me some liners, and I just I may have been the one that dropped the ball on that. I think they asked me what size of enclosures I needed, and I'm not sure if I had gotten back to them on that. Definitely interested in trying that. I like Reptichip or like the cocoa bark for a few animals. For example, my emerald tree is on that stuff, but he's not down in it. He's up on a perch. Yes. However, that helps to keep humidity. That helps to keep the humidity. And I personally keep my sand boas on sand. I know that there are people who are totally anti-sand for sand boas. I've never had a problem with it. I've never had a sand boa get impacted. I think that there are sands that are not appropriate for sand boas and bearded dragons and leopard geckos and stuff like that. I've never had a problem with the calcium sand, but I know that some people have complained of impaction. I use just clean playground sand that you can get from like a hardware store or somewhere. And I personally have never had any trouble with it. like I said, paper's not as pretty as other types of substrate, but I also know that I feel like for the animals, it's the most hygienic. And paper is biodegradable, so to me, it's relatively green. I would assume that those liners biodegrade. Yes. The bark and stuff like that, it's good, but I don't feel like it's as clean, because I know that Brian Kusko did a video where he switched to it and then he switched back because he said, basically you're spot cleaning and then you're only cleaning it all out. I don't know what he said, if he does it once a month or probably less often. But the animals don't tend to like it, like you said. And I don't know. I just feel like it's less hygienic.
Well,
and then people say, "Oh yeah, but no one goes and bleaches the snakes' enclosures in the wild." No, but on the other hand, there's a lot of natural flora and fauna that comes along behind them, all that microlife that eats the waste, and will come and eat the sheds and stuff like that. So if you're taking them out of their natural environment, I think it's okay for them to be on an unnatural substrate as long as it's healthy for them.
Yeah. See, Becky, my first thing she noticed when I switched everything over to the paper was the smell went down.
Yeah.
Like gone. Because like people what they end up doing is they'll end up going and like you'll pull up in a tub, you'll have that and you'll just spot clean. Well, when it goes to the bathroom in there, it runs along the bottom and that absorbs into that substrate. There's no doubt in my mind it doesn't. So and then people don't change the tub completely when they do that, where with the paper, when they go to bathroom on it, you're pulling the whole paper out, wiping the tub down and putting paper back in it again.
Right, exactly.
So I'm not bashing anybody for using it, because you can do what you want, but I'm just saying that's just what I've observed myself. So
yeah, I totally agree. Somebody was asking what Kevin McCurley did that we were talking about. And so Kevin McCurley is the owner of Reptiles, which is New England Reptile Distribution, I believe. And he's a super amazing guy. He's a musician, and some people kind of have a little beef with him because he tends to just kind of tell it like it is and be a little bit rough around the edges. But there was a law that was some New England's animal rights activists were trying to pass, and they took it to the local legislators in Massachusetts, I believe. And Kevin, along with a group of people, went and basically, so they were trying to say all this ridiculous stuff about how you needed all these special permits to breed any animals at all, and that you could only have a very specific number of animals, all for the welfare of the animals, and it's so dangerous to have reptiles and all this stuff. And they basically went in and totally blew that out of the water. So Kevin owns New England Reptiles. He has a YouTube channel, he has a website, and he's just a super amazing guy. I don't know when he got into it, late 80s maybe. I mean, he's one of the people that I look up to as, I wouldn't say an old timer because he's not old, but he's been one of the people that's kind of been in it from the beginning of when the captive exotic hobby really started to grow in the United States. And so he's a super amazing guy, and I want to thank Kevin for helping to uphold our rights. And basically some of the legislators actually came back to him and said, these people were really trying to pull the wool over our eyes, and thank you for coming and educating us. We really just didn't know. And so they, of course, USARC is an amazing organization. If you care about animals at all, you should definitely join USARC. And they usually have fundraisers at, any of the big NARBC expos. Go to those at night and donate any money or whatever you can, because they have helped to, I've got a cranky monitor up here that's banging on the glass and stuff. It's kind of funny. they have helped a lot to protect our rights as Americans and captive animal keepers in the private sector. So if you're not familiar, check out Kevin McCurley, check out Dav Kaufman, check out Brian Barczyk, check out USARK. Obviously, check out DEA Exotics. He's a super awesome guy. And like I said, he approached me first about having me on his podcast. So that was a lot of fun. That was only the second or third podcast I'd ever done. And yeah, Grizzlies Exotics is saying that he likes cypress. Little caution, if you use cypress, try to make sure that it's 100% cypress. And if you want to know about that, I can link the show that I did with Ahmad Osman from Aussie Boads. Hot guy, amazing, smart, super cool. Check him out too. Well, do you have any closing words of wisdom for us before we wrap tonight?
I just want to let everybody know, just to, you know, like you were just saying, help out with USARK, and then just enjoy the hobby. Don't argue. You know, don't get in big arguments, because people argue all the time over this hobby. You know, just even on YouTube, they start arguing. Don't fall into the trap. Just if somebody says something, just let it go.
Yeah.
No big deal. That's all I can say.
Well, and here's my other big message too, is that we have enough adversity against us as exotic animal owners. And I include, you know, the cat breeders and all that, you know, all of us together. We have enough against us. We really need to band together and support each other. And it's kind of like religion. You know, if you have a little micro dispute with somebody, let's say on, you know, betting, don't blow it out of the water. Come on, exactly. we're all in it together. Let's support each other. Don't tear people down. Ultimately, we need to band together to fight for our rights and for the conservation of the animals. And it's an amazing, amazing community to be in. I mean, I absolutely love the people that I work with and I deal with. You guys are awesome. I love you all. Yeah, so just great.
Yeah. And I want to thank you for having me on.
Yeah, definitely. A couple more people have jumped on. I want to thank all the people that have been watching. Chris Stogden, thank you, Chris. He's a student at my school. Nikki Snow, David W., Matt Stanton, Ali S., Hector Rodriguez, Grizzly Exotics. You guys are awesome. Thank you for tuning in live. And for anybody who's watching this after the fact, I'm going to link DEA Exotics, put a link to his channel and to his podcast. And if there's any other thing that was related to kind of what we were talking about, I'll put that in the tags and I'll try to link some of that stuff. Thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you so much, Andrew, for being here with me tonight.
Yep.
Love you guys all and have a wonderful weekend.
Happy Mother's to all the mothers out there.
Yes, awesome Mother's Day. Thank you for throwing that in there. All right, peace out, and we will see you guys next time.
See ya.